Tunisia. I wanted to thank as the Dean and Taels for having me here, and also Saida from the American Embassy as well. 20 years ago, in 1999, I was here in Sousse. This was the first time I'd ever been in an Arab country. And when I got there, people started inviting me to their house. People were so warm and generous that I immediately fell in love with this part of the world. And then 20 years later, I'm still working in it. So it's really such a great honor for me to be here in Tunisia, and especially to be here in Sousse. What I'm here to talk to you about means a lot to me. And that's about the Hibakusha and what happened in Hiroshima. And more importantly, how these amazing people transformed a culture of peace that I hope will travel around the world. So, my presentation has 5 parts. The first is about the story of my grandfather. My grandfather was there on August 6, 1945 when the bomb dropped. And he's the Hibakusha. And the second part is how the Hibakusha had to fight for resistance to be recognized as individuals, the city of Hiroshima, and also how they spread this idea, not only to Japan, not only to the United States, but around the world as well. And lastly, I'll talk about the Oleander Initiative. This is the program we run for teachers in Hiroshima. So this is my grandfather. This is Yoshio, and he is a Hibakusha. For those of you that don't know, this is the definition of a Hibakusha. These are people that were within a few kilometers of when the bomb dropped in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. There are also people that entered the blast zone within 2 weeks of the bomb, and that's because there's so much radiation there that it impacted people terribly. There are also people that were exposed to radiation from the fallout. When the bomb dropped, all this radioactive material went into the sky, and then it rained black rain. And anyone that got hit by that black rain would be affected. And lastly, my uncle is one of the Hibakusha like this, is that people that were born from women that were pregnant during this time, because the radiation also affected women and caused a lot of birth defects. So my grandfather lived in a small village called Hiro in the mountains of Hiroshima. It was a small farming community. It was very small, around 3,000 people. And on that morning, people started coming to him because he was the chief of the fire department at that time. And people were telling him something awful had happened in Hiroshima, but no one could quite explain what it was. My grandfather knew that he had to go. So he gathered up his men in his fire truck and he got prepared to go to Hiroshima. But right before he left, my grandmother stopped him. And what you have to know about my grandmother is that she was someone that absolutely loved food. For her, food was really the center of her universe. Was at the center of the universe. So for her, there's nothing more important than food that can help heal people, make people feel better. So before my grandfather left the house, she insisted that he bring some food with him to help comfort the people in Hiroshima. And what she made him were musubis. This is kind of like the national food of Japan. This is rice wrapped in seaweed. And she made him 4 really big musubis. My grandfather took these 4 musubis, put them in his pack. He joined his men in his fire truck, and he started heading into Hiroshima. It's about 30 kilometers to go from Hiro to Hiroshima. And he went down this highway, and I always wondered, what was he thinking when he started going towards Hiroshima? And what was he thinking when he saw the mushroom crowd on the distance? I wondered if he thought about the train station that he took the train from Hiroshima to Japan every night. I wondered if he thought about the main road of Hiroshima, where his friends lived, where he ate at his favorite restaurant. I wondered if he thought about the gem of Hiroshima, which was this. It was the Hiroshima Prefectural Industrial Promotion Hall, where they had beautiful exhibits from all over the world, and whose dome was really like the highest point in the city at that time. When he arrived in Hiroshima, he saw this. A city that was completely flattened. The main road looked like this. And the dome looked like that. This is Hiroshima in 1944 before the bomb. they had 350,000 people. On August 5th, Hiroshima looked like this. It was a completely flattened city. There's a poet that wrote about what he saw. You can read, it's Hiroshima, nothing, nothing. Old and young burned to death, city blown away. A socket without an eyeball, white bones scattered across reddish rubble. Above, sun burning down, city ruins, still as death. Because what had happened was there was a weapon that no one had ever exposed to man. It took the very power that was harnessed in the sun, and they released it on the tiny, frail, flesh and blood human beings of Hiroshima. When the bomb dropped, it put out heat that was 100 million degrees Celsius. The same temperature as the sun was. When Robert Oppenheimer, who's called the father of the atomic bomb, tested this weapon, he's famous for saying, "Now I've become death, the destroyer of worlds." And these were some of the impacts my grandfather saw. It twisted bottles, it twisted entire staircases. This is from the band. You can see that all the coins were fused together in the heat of this bomb. The flash was so strong that it vaporized people, so much that their remains were left as shadows on stairs and walls. The flash was so strong that the dark parts of the clothing absorbed the heat and they branded people on their skin. In an instant, 70,000 people were killed. But the real horror came from the survivors that my grandfather was there to help. These are the Hibakusha. And when he tried to help the victims, he realized that they only wanted two things. The first thing that they wanted was water. They were so thirsty from the radiation poisoning. And the second thing that they wanted, whether they were soldiers or civilians, or men or women, or elderly or small children, they all asked for their mothers before they passed. So at the end of what was the longest day, my grandfather went into Hiroshima with 4 muskies. And he went back home with 4 muskies. There's no solace at all. About a week later, my grandfather felt a strange pain in his left eye. And a week after that, he lost that eye from the radiation poisoning. But until the day he died, he never forgot what that eye had seen. And for him, there were 2 major lessons to be learned from what happened in Hiroshima. The first was to forgive and never forget. He forgave the Americans for doing this. He forgave them so much that he let his daughter, my mother, go to Boston and start her life there. But he never forgot the victims, and he never forgot how horrible war was. And that comes to the second lesson, was that he thought it was the duty of every single human being to work towards peace. So what happened to him in the city would never happen to anyone else on Earth ever again. That there'll be no more Hiroshimas or Hibakusha ever in history. What's amazing is that there's 650,000 Hibakusha, and the vast majority of them feel the same way as my grandfather. They felt there's something much bigger to be learned from what happened in Hiroshima. And these 2 lessons are the platform for really a unique form of resistance. It's not resistance from Gandhi, it's not resistance from Martin Luther King. It's unique to Hiroshima and the resistance of Hibakusha. Because what they want to do is they want to create a peace culture that's so powerful that it goes all the way around the world until there's world peace. And that's the resistance that they have. So the second and third part of my presentation is how this message of resistance started small and got bigger and bigger. It started first within the Hibakusha themselves, then the city of Hiroshima, to Japan, all the way around the world. I'm going to talk about local resistance now. So less of 1 month after the bomb dropped, one of the high-ranking American generals had a press conference in Tokyo. And he basically said that anyone who had died from the radiation is already dead. There's nothing else that needs to be done to them. At the same time, the American army occupied Japan for 7 years, and they had very heavy military censorship. So you couldn't mention the atomic bomb in Hiroshima in any newspapers. You couldn't mention what happened to the victims there. You couldn't mention about the 70,000 people that died after the bomb dropped. The government of Japan refused to recognize them too. Their perspective was that there were 66 other cities that were bombed, that were destroyed. Why is Hiroshima special? Why should you get more additional funding to do anything? But during this time, 70,000 people died from radiation exposure. There's also a strong social stigma as well. People didn't understand what radiation did. Like, it was mysterious to them that so many people would just suddenly drop dead, and they thought that maybe this disease was contagious. So they were really pariahs in their own societies. When women started having birth defects, those women from Hiroshima had a stigma where they couldn't get married. My mother remembers that it was a fashion in Hiroshima that women wore long sleeve gloves to hide all the scars from the bombing because they didn't want to be stigmatized. So within the society itself, there's a complete lack of recognition. And this is probably the hardest time for the Hibakusha because they're completely invisible for about 10 years. There are some forms of resistance. The man on the right wrote about what happened in Nagasaki. He was a doctor. And there are several poets that talked about it as well. There are more explicit forms of resistance as well. This is Kiyoshi Kitagawa. He called himself Survivor Number 1. He was terribly burned on his back. And he went every day to the Hiroshima train station. And he showed everyone his back. And he said, "This is what happened to me. Recognize it." And finally, after 4 years, the Japanese government recognized that something special had happened in Hiroshima. And they finally gave him some funding to start rebuilding. But the funding, which is very interesting, it's always been connected to peace. This funding was to make Hiroshima a peace memorial city. The Hibakusha resistance movement really took off when the Lucky Dragon boat incident happened. The Lucky Dragon was a tuna fishing boat that got caught in the blast of one of the biggest atomic nuclear testing in history. And that was Operation Castle Bravo. This bomb was tested in Bikini Islands in the Pacific Ocean. And this bomb was 1,000 times the power of Hiroshima. He imagined 1,000 times more than what happened in Hiroshima. And what it did was that it sickened all 23 people on that boat. They all got radiation poisoning. And about a month later, one of the crew members died. And that created a huge outrage in Japan. And they also realized that the tuna that this boat had caught that was now contaminated with radiation too. And in fact, a lot of the tuna coming into Japan was contaminated around the world. I think that's the first time the Japanese understood that this weapon not only impacted people, it destroyed the environment as well. This created such outrage in Japan that there were 32 million signatures that protested against atomic weapons testing. That's 1/3 of the Japanese population. And there were many protests about it. And it turned into a political change because up until then, because of the Cold War, the American military was planning to put nuclear-tipped missiles in Japan, but this protesting stopped that. It also resulted in the first conference against A&H bombs in 1955. And what it did was that it gave voice to the Hibakusha. This is the first time these victims could come out and talk publicly about what happened to them, so they didn't have to hide anymore. And because of that, they were able to establish their own association and organize. So after 10 years, they're finally recognized both in Japan, in America, and within society itself. What was really interesting is that what did they do with this recognition? that's my next part. I was really struck when I saw this Time magazine article about the 60th anniversary of the atomic bomb. And in this article, they interviewed maybe 12 Hibakushas, and they asked, what is your message to the future generation? And this is what they said. So you can see that the message of the Hibakusha isn't about anger at the US. It's not about victimhood or revenge. It really transformed into a worldwide message of peace. And a great example of this is my friend. He's Ishida-san. And he was a very young boy when the bomb dropped. He was within the blast of the radius, so he's the Hibakusha. But his grandparents were completely vaporized. They still don't know what happened to them. And for about 20 years, he burned with anger against the United States. He wanted to kill them, and he felt that he could barely control himself sometimes. But everything changed when he had his own children. And when he looked at them, he realized that they have to have a brighter future. That what happened to him and his parents could never happen to his children. And he explained to me that it was a choice between living in the past and feeling anger about the grandparents, or shifting that energy towards their children to make sure that they have a brighter future. There's no question that he chose his children. And now he's the curator of a museum about the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. This idea of a larger idea of peace was very early. This was at the first conference against A&H bombs. And this woman, Chieko Watanabe, she was a very beautiful young woman. And when the atomic bomb dropped, it crushed her legs as her house fell on top of her. And because she was a Hibakusha, it was nearly impossible for her to get married. And during the first atomic bomb conference, her mother picked her up and brought her to the stage. And this is what she said. Please look at me in this miserable condition. We must be the last victims of atomic bombs. Dear friends from around the world, please work together and abolish all A&H bombs. So you can see once again, it's a worldwide message. It's not focused on victimhood or revenge. This is another thing about Hibakusha. This is Sadako. She was 3 years old when the bomb dropped. And the bomb flattened her house, but luckily she was unharmed. One of the terrible things about nuclear weapons is that is the weapon that keeps doing harm even after it's over. So because she was exposed to the radiation, about 10 years later when she was a teenager, she got leukemia. The leukemia hit her really fast. And she was dying in her hospital bed. And as she was dying, her grandmother came to her, and she said that, in Japanese mythology, if you fold 1,000 paper grains, you can have any wish that you want. And Sadako started folding his paper grains because she wanted to live. And she folded 660 of them, and then she passed. But her classmates from her school folded the last 340 paper grains to make 1,000. And when they did, their wish was there to be worldwide peace. So once again, an example of taking the personal tragedy of the Hibakusha and making it bigger into a worldwide message. This is the logic of the Hibakusha. They believe that they were affected by a weapon that could effectively end the world, which I think is also true. And if there's another big world war, atomic weapons will be used again, therefore ending the world. And right now, the status quo is that we're on this path. Therefore, it's their duty to educate the world about what happened and promote the society of peace. So the core message of resistance is education for the Hibakusha. This is the impact of the Hibakusha in the city of Hiroshima. Because right now, Hiroshima is known as the city of peace. It had a lot to do with it. For many years, the mayors of Hiroshima had to be supported by the Hibakusha. They had to run on a pro-peace platform. Hiroshima is also oftentimes like the progressive speaking front for Japan. Things that the national government won't condemn, the Hiroshima government will. So most recently, there's a nuclear ban treaty in the UN. And the man on the left is the mayor of Hiroshima, and the man on the bottom right is the Prime Minister of Japan. So you can see how different their positions are on the banning of nuclear weapons. There's also a special office within the city of Hiroshima itself. It's called the Hiroshima Peace Culture Foundation. And their purpose is an entire government devoted to promoting peace internationally. And they're a great example of mainstream peace, which means that it's a government that believes that peace should be part of every single part of your life. So they made the Peace Memorial Museum and the Peace Memorial Park. But it didn't stop there. They named the main boulevard in Hiroshima Peace Boulevard. The main bridge in Hiroshima is Peace Bridge. It's required by law that every single school in Hiroshima has something about peace education in every part of its curriculum. So they start in preschool, and they go all the way to senior and high school. And that's to ensure that Hiroshima will have peaceful citizens. It also expresses itself in daily life as well. When you go to Hiroshima, you'll see things like the Peace Cafe or the Peace Hotel. You can see peace pizzas or peace nail salons as well. So it's an entire city where peace is inundated in the very fiber of the city. And 2 million people around the world experience this every year. So I'm going to move to the last part of my presentation. This is about the Oleander Initiative. This is the program that we run for teachers in America and the Middle East and North Africa and Hiroshima. The reason why it's called the Oleander Initiative is because after the bomb fell, no one thought anything would ever grow in Hiroshima's irradiated soil ever again. But a few months later, these beautiful red flowers started coming out of the soil. And at that time, it was such a symbol of resistance, of resiliency and hope, and that's why we named it the Oleander Initiative. The Oleander Initiative is for high school teachers from 9 different countries in the Middle East and North Africa and the United States. And the idea of this program is to transmit the lessons of Hiroshima to America and the MENA region. So my grandfather came away with 2 lessons. We want teachers to come to Hiroshima and understand what their own lesson of Hiroshima is, and then transmit it to their students. It takes place during the anniversary week of the bombing. It's run by UME, and we were established in 1997 by graduate students from Harvard, MIT, and the Fletcher School. And our mission has always been to promote peace through education. We're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we're nonprofit and non-governmental. And our specialty is training educators. So we've been doing this for 20 years. This is our first program in 1999. This program called Teacher Education we grew every year. This is partly because of the funding we got from the American State Department. We had 13 editions of this program in Boston. It was so successful, we also had programs in Washington, D.C., New York City, Rhode Island, and also internationally as well, in Spain, and Lebanon, in Cairo, Jordan, and Morocco. Sorry, I really want to have a program in Tunisia too, so inshallah one day. So over the last 20 years, we've had 2,500 participants in 49 institutes in 7 countries. And our programs have been endorsed by people like Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Farouk El-Baz, the former president of Harvard, the King of Morocco, and former Secretary of State John Kerry. But out of all the programs that we've run all around the world, our most successful program has been in Japan. And this is our first group in 2016. 2017, 2018, I think Azadene's in this one. And this is last year. So this program has 2 phases. The first phase is knowledge acquisition. We ask all our teachers, what is the lesson of Hiroshima for you? What do you think is the most important thing to know after experiencing what happened in Hiroshima? In the second part, we ask our teachers, both Americans and Middle Easterners, to work together to co-design peace education lesson plans. Really, the core of our program are the Hibakusha. And I think the man on the left is one of the most extraordinary. His name is Mori-san. And this man, whose parents were killed by the bomb, and also Hibakusha himself, he devoted 30 years of his life to try to figure out what happened to the American soldiers that were imprisoned in Hiroshima. These were the enemy. And his rationale was that whether you're American or Japanese, a friend or a foe, it's common humanity. Every mother wants to know what happened to their son. Every brother wants to know what happened to their brother. So he really devoted 3 decades researching the identities of who these American soldiers were. Then after that, trying to find their families. He learned English so he could try to figure this out. He would call on small towns in the middle of America and call the operator and ask them questions trying to understand who these people were. So it's another example of the amazing peace culture that's developed in Hiroshima. There are lectures from top professors from Japan. And if you remember the conference from 1955, it's still going on. We attended, and it has over 10,000 participants from people from over 60 countries. And it's really inspiring. The mayor of Hiroshima gives us special tickets to sit at the August 6th memorial ceremony. I think the highlight for many of our teachers is that they get to see Hiroshima's peace curriculum in person. So we visit nursery schools where they talk about how peace begins within themselves, and then it expands outwards in high school, where the high school students research topics to promote peace. After every day, we have a debrief session, and we ask our professors to help our participants make meaning of the lesson of Hiroshima. That's the question that all our participants keep asking themselves. What does this mean? What does this mean for me? And then we move on to the second phase, which is the co-design of student projects. And the challenge is that Hiroshima is so far away and so long ago, but how do you make the lessons in Hiroshima, how do you adapt them to your own local context? And that's the challenge that our teachers do. And they work with each other, Americans and Middle Easterners and North Africans, to do this. So I want to show you some of the projects that were designed by this program. This is in Tisnit, Morocco. And this teacher was really attracted by the story of Sadako and the paper cranes. And his students loved it too. They read the story, they understood the humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons. They started folding these cranes. And the students folded over 500 of these cranes. And a lot of it was made out of local materials. So you can see that crane you can see Berber on that crane at the bottom. And I arrived in Tisnit, and my friend Raheem gave me this huge sack of 500 paper cranes. And I put them in my suitcase. And I went from Agadir to Casablanca, Casablanca to Boston, Boston all the way to Tokyo, and then from Tokyo to Hiroshima. And I took these cranes, I dedicated them to Sadako's statue. So I think that was a tremendously meaningful thing for his students. One of the great things about paper crane activity is that it's something tangible you can do for peace. It's very difficult to fold these cranes, and when you're folding these cranes, it's very meditative. And for high school students, I think it's often overwhelming to think of world peace. But folding a paper crane in the name of peace is something very small and very tactile they can do to contribute. This is another very successful project in Marrakesh. It was over 60 students. It was a student peace conference. And right here in Tunisia, we have Layla, who's sitting over there, and she implemented something called the Peace Begins With Me program, where she helped create a peer mediation and conflict resolution program in her school. Because the main lesson she took away is that everyone is responsible for creating peace, even in your own school. You can start small. In Jordan, the idea was that war is caused by a lack of critical thinking skills. People join Daesh or other groups because they're not thinking critically. So she started a debate in her school where one side promoted the use of the bomb, the other side opposed it. But the main idea was to create critical thinking to promote peace in Jordan. This is one of the most interesting ones. This is in Lebanon, and this is in the Bekaa Valley where there's been a lot of fighting. And this teacher was very attracted by the anime. This is called Barefoot Gan. What's interesting about this anime is that it's 1,000 pages of comic book, but only the first 100 pages is about the day of the bomb itself. Most of the stories about the survival that these children had to go through in this devastated city. It's really a story of survival, resilience, and rebuilding. You can see why that resonates with the students in Lebanon, because this is Hiroshima in 1945, and this is Hiroshima today. This is Beirut in 1983 and 2006, and this is Beirut today. So this is the lesson that goes across cultures, but that's what he took away from Hiroshima and brought to Lebanon. This is a project in Cairo, in Palestine, in Saudi Arabia, and also our American teachers too. They use the lessons in a very interesting way as well. This one is from Mississippi, and the idea was to promote empathy through testimonials of children from Hiroshima. The main idea was to understand the perspective of the other. In South Carolina, he thought the biggest threat for peace was Islamophobia. So he took testimonials of Hibakusha and testimonials of Syrian refugees, and he compared and contrasted them. This program has been the most successful program in over 20 years. Usually when we do our programs, about 50% of our teachers can actually implement what they learn in their classes into their classrooms. But this program has had an 80 to 100% implementation rate. And on top of that, so many ministries have supported the work that our teachers have done. This is a great example from Morocco, where 2 of our alumni did a workshop sponsored by the Ministry of Education that had 54 teachers in Casablanca. So if each teacher taught 250 students and there were over 50 teachers in attendance, there's a potential impact of over 13,000 students, which I think is exactly what the Hibakusha want to know. But within the last 4 years, Layla trained over 300 teachers, and Samia from Morocco trained over 250 teachers. A lot of the Americans have been very active too. We actually had a training here at the U.S. Embassy, thank you, Saida, last year, where an American teacher taught his lesson that he designed in Hiroshima in a workshop for Tunisian teachers. This is Ron. Where did Ron go? Ron back there has trained 20 teachers in Vermont, and another American teacher trained 70 teachers in Utah. 100 teachers in Lebanon, 12 teachers in Jordan. So you can see what an impact this program has had. It has a potential impact of 187,000 students. So the question is, why has this program been so successful over all our other programs? And I think it's the location of Hiroshima. There's 3 reasons. The first is a perception of Japan in this part of the world in the United States. From what I understand, Japanese people have a reputation for great honesty and altruism, and a lot of their aid is really appreciated. They're also very politically neutral in this part of the world, and there's no religious affiliations. Only 0.2% of Japanese are Christian, Muslim, or Jewish. It also operates in a clean slate of history. When we did our programs in Spain, would see pictures of crusaders killing Saracens all the time, which isn't a good atmosphere for a program like ours. There's also things like Islamophobia in America, or migration in Spain, but in Japan there's nothing. There's no connection between the 2 parts of the world. I think it's really advantageous for doing programs like ours. I think one of the most interesting things is how close the American MENA teachers become during this program. I think it's because when we bring Americans over to the Middle East or North Africa, the Arabs are the hosts of the American teachers. And when we bring Arab teachers over to America, the Americans are the hosts of the Arabs. And there's always an inequality. But in Japan, no one knows what's going on. So there's no hosts. So the both sides, the Arabs and the Americans, have to depend on each other to understand Japanese culture. I think that's why the friendships are so close. The second reason is the unique connection between Japan and this part of the world. They really don't know much about the Middle East or North Africa. This is an initiative by the mayor's office where they want to connect Hiroshima to different cities around the world. And they have 6,900 member cities, but only 57 cities are from the MENA region. So it's very unusual to connect Japan to anything in this part of the world. Because of that, our participants feel so special. The mayor of Hiroshima was so happy to have Middle Eastern teachers coming to his city. The mayor of Nagasaki also invited us to his office. So there's a real elevation of status in Japan. And of course the Japanese media has loved our program, and the Yomiuri Shimbun is like the New York Times of Japan, and NHK World is like the CNN of Japan. I think the most obvious reason is the power of place. It's really inspiring to be in a city where the entire society is entirely devoted to peace. And I think what this peace does is that it creates a lot of optimism. To work in peace building, you have to be optimistic. And that's what Hiroshima does. Is because for a place to look like this, to look like this now, you feel the optimism, and you can see the tangible products of peace as you live in the city. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thank you.